Okay, so the next surah that we will be discussing, inshallah, the surah that is right after Surah An-Naba, which is Surah An-Nazi'at. Now, Surah An-Nazi'at, similar to Surah An-Naba, and similar to, in fact, many of the surahs in Juz' Amma, is also a Meccan surah. So it was also revealed before Hijrah in the city of Mecca. And the theme of the surah is actually also quite similar to the Surah An-Naba. And that is also addressing the day of judgment and the fact, that every person will be brought back to life and that everybody shall be resurrected back from their graves back into life. And again, there is no specific incident as to why the surah got revealed. So in the Quran, you will find different types of surahs. I don't know if I mentioned this already or not. Some surahs, there are certain stories or certain things that took place, and it resulted in the surah being revealed down. Okay? So for example, we will be discussing the next surah, Surah Abasa. There's a story behind it, right? And some of us, maybe you know the story. There's a story that took place that caused the surah to be revealed. And Nazi'at does not have a specific story that took place. Rather, it's a generic warning that was given to the people of Mecca. Why were they given that warning? Why were the Quraysh given that warning? Because they were disbelieving in the idea of resurrection. And that is what, in fact, the surah opens up with, as we will see in a second. And they would be challenging and they would be saying, أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرًا, for example. They would say, do you really think, once we become bones, and in fact, not just bones, perhaps maybe you know or you don't know, right? Bones, when they are left for a long time, okay, when the bones, and if you were to grab that bone that's been there for a very, very long time, it actually crumbles to dust. So they are saying, the disbelievers of Quraysh are saying, that do you really think that once we become these bones that turn into dust, do you really think that we are going to be resurrected? So they all mocked this idea of resurrection. They thought it to be impossible. And even when they were warned about a day of judgment, that there is a day where you shall be taken into account, that whether there is good deeds and bad deeds and Jannah and Jahannam, they would mockingly ask and they would say, when is the day of judgment? Tell us exactly when the day of judgment is, right? And subhanAllah, when someone asks a question, there are different ways of asking a question, right? There's a person who might genuinely ask a question because they don't know the answer to it. And there's someone who asks a question not because they want to know the answer, rather they're asking it out of mockery. And so in this case, the disbelievers of Quraysh would ask about the day of judgment, not because they cared, rather because they wanted to mock him. They say, oh, you're claiming the day of judgment? When is the day of judgment? How could you're going to try to convince me that there's a day of judgment and you don't even know when it is? So Allah Azza wa Jal responded to all of these denials and arrogance of Quraysh through Surah An-Nazi'at. Allah Azza wa Jal, He begins by swearing by the angels. So the first few verses, we're going to discuss them. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا. What do these things even mean? These are all different categories of angels, and we're going to be talking about them. And then Allah Azza wa Jal proceeds to mention the mockery of the people of Quraysh and how they were challenging the idea of resurrection. And then Allah Azza wa Jal responds and it says that this is something very simple for us. And Allah Azza wa Jal describes how the resurrection will actually take place. And then Allah Azza wa Jal tells us the story of Fir'aun and Musa. It's not really obviously not the full story. The story of Musa alayhi salam is a very long story, right? But we find throughout the Quran different snapshots of the story being told to us. And in Surah An-Nazi'at, we get a small snapshot of the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And of course, the reason why Fir'aun was being picked out of everyone is because he was very evil, he was very powerful, and he was very arrogant. He thought that he was above everything else. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions him as an example to us. And then Allah Azza wa Jal towards the end of the surah talks about the reality of the day of judgment, the believers, what they will face, and the disbelievers, what they will face. So for today, inshallah, obviously we took a chunk of the class because of the quiz, but we will try to cover within the next 30 minutes, around half of the surah to the best of our ability. So Allah Azza wa Jal begins the surah, and in fact before that actually, the surah is named An-Nazi'at. An-Nazi'at. What does the word An-Nazi'at mean? It comes from the An-Nazi'at comes from the verb naza'a in Arabic. Naza'a means like you very violently tore something out. Okay, So, like, let's say, I don't know.
You rip the cheese out of your burger?
Okay, what? Okay, very interesting example, right? But like, let's just imagine that something, okay, like let's say something is stuck, okay, boys. Let's say there is something that is, I don't know, there's something that is stuck in a jar, and you're just sometimes that happens. There's some food that is stuck in the jar or something like this, and you're trying to take it out, but it doesn't come out, and eventually you get frustrated, and then you become very violent at some point, right? And you're like, ugh, right? And then eventually it comes out, and sometimes it causes accidents as well. So an-nazi'at are those who violently rip out. What are they ripping out, and who are they? We're going to mention that in a second. It is also called by some scholars Surah Al-Mudabbirat. Surah Al-Mudabbirat. And Al-Mudabbirat are those who arrange the affairs of arrange the affairs. We're going to mention what exactly that means in a second. And in some scholars they call it Surah As-Sahira. Okay, فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. As-Sahira, what does As-Sahira mean? It's a surface. Okay, surface above the ground is called As-Sahira. And in this context, it is referring to the surface that people will be resurrected into after the death. Boys, if you don't want to learn, please at least quiet down and don't disrupt the class. I know sometimes some of you guys are coming here for fun. I don't mind that, okay? You're coming here for fun to have a good time, that's completely fine. But please at least have some respect in the class. Don't interrupt, because there are some others who are here to actually learn, okay? And another name of the surah is Surah At-Tamma. Surah At-Tamma. Because, of course, of the verse, فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الطَّامَّةُ الْكُبْرَى. And that is something we will discuss next week. At-Tamma is one of the names of the Day of Judgment. It refers to something very overwhelming, like a disaster above and beyond what you can even imagine. So then the surah begins. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He begins and He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, swears by the angels who rip out. What are they ripping out? They rip out the souls of the disbelievers. Okay, and we're going to comment on that in a second. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. And Allah swears by the angels who gently take out the souls of the good believers. وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا. And Allah swears by the angels who fly very quickly through the heavens. فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. And Allah swears by the angels who race one another, like almost aggressively, just to fulfill the commandments of Allah. فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. And Allah swears by the angels that conduct the affairs of humanity obediently without any arguing. So, there are a few things to be mentioned over here, okay? And obviously mostly around the angels. But first of all, what does it really mean when Allah swears by something in the Quran? Because this is a pattern we will see throughout the Quran, okay? So for example, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. You will see it, the verses always begin with wa, and it's always at the start of the surah. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا, okay? وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالْعَصْرِ. Okay? All of these are ways in which Allah Azza wa Jal swears in the Quran. Okay? So it's actually very easy to understand, because we do this all the time too, right? When you want to swear by Allah, what do you say? Wallahi, right? You say wa, and then you say Allah. So you're saying, I swear by Allah. Now, as believers, as Muslims, you're not allowed to swear by anything other than Allah. It is completely haram for someone to swear by something other than Allah. Okay? So I know sometimes you might hear people, maybe your friends at school, they will tell you, oh, I swear by my mother. Okay? I swear by my life, bro. Okay, I swear by this, I swear by that. You're not allowed to do this as a Muslim. You're only allowed to say, I swear by Allah. Wallahi. That is only time you're allowed to swear by something. Okay? But now it could be, are you asking, is it a major or minor sin?
Is it a major sin to swear by something else?
So it's a good question. So if you swear by something other than Allah, and you're not intending to actually glorify whatever you're swearing by, okay, it's a minor sin, okay, and it's considered to be minor shirk, okay. So it's a big deal, but it's not as dangerous as someone who believes that whatever they're swearing by is something that is really great, okay. So someone who says, oh, I swear by my mother's grave or something. And this person genuinely believes that his mother's grave has powers or something like this, and his mother is watching over him from the heavens or something like this, then this person is he's not even just a major sinner, he's not a Muslim anymore. So it is dangerous.
What happens if like you didn't know this before?
Then Allah Azza wa Jal forgives whatever a person does not. Allah Azza wa Jal forgives ignorance, okay? But now that you know, you're expected not to swear by anything other than Allah Azza wa Jal, because this is a big deal, okay?
Then how do you do promises?
Okay? Can you just not interrupt, please? Okay, let's continue, inshallah. If you have questions later on, we can take your questions, okay? So, anyways, when you swear by Allah, what does that usually indicate, right? What does that usually indicate? Usually it means that you're being now really serious, okay? Like maybe, I don't know. Let's say you're at home, okay? And your little brother broke your mom's favorite cup or something in the kitchen, okay? And you know, your mom comes back home and she's, mashallah, she looks at the kitchen, she sees the broken cup, she becomes angry and she starts yelling at you, hey, you know, did you break my cup? Right? You're like, no, I didn't break my cup. I know you broke my cup. Did you break my cup? No, I didn't break my cup. And then what do you say? Wallahi, I didn't break your cup, right? So now, ideally, in an ideal world, of course, your mother's like, oh, khalas, I believe you didn't break my cup. And there is no punishment and there's nothing, right? But the point here is, as a believer, and by the way, this is important, when you swear by Allah, this is now something very serious, okay? And someone who lies when they swear by Allah, this is one of the worst major sins. One of the worst major sins, someone who swears and uses the name of Allah, and then he lies and he says something and he knows that it is a lie, then this is a big problem, okay? So there is no joking around when it comes to swearing by the name of Allah. So why are we talking about this? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla is also swearing by something here. Now obviously Allah, He can choose to swear by whatever He wants, okay? We as humans, we can only swear by Allah. But Allah is the creator. Allah is the one who makes the rules. So Allah can swear by anything He wants. So in some other surahs He swears by the sun, by the night. He swears by time. In the surah He's swearing by the angels. Okay? And different types of angels. So Allah begins and He swears by وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. Now who are an-nazi'at and who are an-nashitat? This brings us to a hadith. I'm not going to go through all of it because it is a long hadith. But it tells us and it teaches us what will happen to a person when this person dies. So obviously when a human being dies, right? From the outside we just see like, oh, this person, khalas, they stopped moving. You know, maybe they're connected to a heart monitor in a hospital and then that heart monitor became flat. Maybe that's what it means to us for a person to die. But this person who is actually experiencing death, what is he actually experiencing? One hadith teaches us that this person is right now seeing certain things around him that a normal human being cannot see. And of the things that he will see are the angels around him. And he will see one of two kinds of angels based on the person that they were in this world. So a pious and a good and a righteous Muslim will see the angels of mercy. He will see what we call here an-nashitat. Okay? An-nashitat. And the nashitat is referring to the angel. So every person here, all of us here in this room, we have an angel of death that is assigned for you. And that angel, he has a specific day and a specific time and a specific location. As soon as that time it comes, he will come and take your soul. Depending on how you were, and inshallah for us, inshallah we're good believers, the nashitat, the angel of death will come in a good form, in a very pleasant and a beautiful form. And he will come and he will take out the soul in a very, very, very gentle and easy and a merciful manner. This person will not feel any pain. On the other hand, a person who was a disbeliever, he will see frightening angels in front of him. Who are they? They are an-nazi'at. They will come in a very frightening and a very terrifying appearance, and they will, because their souls were so attached to this world, their soul does not want to come out. Unlike an-nashitat, they live their life worshipping Allah. They understand that there's a day I'm going to return back to Allah, right? And so the soul comes out easily. These are these disbelievers or these evil people are people who lived their life in attachment to this world. They didn't care about the akhirah. So even on the moment of death, their soul does not want to come out. So what does the angel do? He rips out the soul from within. And that is not something very pleasant. It is something that is only, of course, nobody who's alive can tell us about the pain of, the soul and how it's taken out and whatnot. But this person who has a soul torn out of his body will experience lots of pain and will be in due for severe punishment. So this is an-nazi'at, the angels, the angel who rip out the souls of the disbelievers. An-nashitat, the angels who take out the souls of the believers in a very gentle and merciful manner. Was-sabihati sabha. As-sabihat are the angels who are flying very swiftly in the heavens. Okay, so they're very, very quick, and they're very eager. Okay, they're very fast. They're very efficient. They're not slow when it comes to executing the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبَقًا. As-sabiqat comes from the verb sabaqa, or from sibaq, meaning competition. Okay, فَالسَّابِقَات are like the angels who are racing one another to see who will be the one who fulfills the commandment of Allah Azza wa Jal and pleases Allah first. So it teaches us the angels are very vigilant. They're very eager to fulfill whatever Allah Azza wa Jal tells them to do. فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. And the al-mudabbirat are the angels who fulfill the tasks that are given to them by Allah Azza wa Jal. And here is where we kind of take a little bit of a sidestep and talk a little bit more about angels. Okay, so what are angels really, and what do we as believers, as Muslims, as believers in the Sunnah, what do we believe about the angels? So first and foremost, angels are creatures of the unseen world. Okay, nobody here today has ever seen an angel. Okay, angels are not something that you will see with your eyes until, of course, the moment of death, but it is something that Allah Azza wa Jal commands you to believe in, even though you've never seen it. And obviously this is a true test of faith. Okay, this is a test of faith, because there are some people out there who will tell you, I'm not gonna believe in something until I see it with my own eyes, right? And there are some others and of course what Allah Azza wa Jal here intends, right, is that Allah Azza wa Jal gave you all of these physical signs, and He's saying to you, based on these physical signs, and you saw the evidences of Allah's creation and Allah's power, I also want you to believe in certain things that you do not see. Okay, so for example, nobody here has seen the Day of Judgment. Nobody here has seen Allah. Nobody here has seen the angels. These are all what we call ilmul ghaib, the knowledge of the unseen that Allah Azza wa Jal commands you and obligates you to believe in, and a person who does not believe in them is not considered to be a true believer. So the angels are among these creatures. So they are creations just like human beings, okay? So just like we are creations of Allah, angels are also creations of Allah. However, they are different from us. How are they different? Okay, so they are different in so for example, we are made out of clay. Allah has already created us out of clay. And then hadith, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he teaches us that angels are made out of light, out of nur. We are able to choose whatever you want to do, right? So whenever you feel hungry, you can get up and go and eat. You have the choice of sitting on your chair or grabbing that chair and smacking the person next to you, right? All of you here, you have the freedom of choice. Angels do not have that freedom of choice. Rather, they have been created only to obey Allah Azza wa Jal. They literally, physically, in their own creation, they are unable to disobey. As human beings, we are creatures that need food and water to survive. You need to sleep at night. You need to use the washroom. Mankind needs to continue to reproduce, otherwise mankind will go extinct, right? Imagine if nobody around the world had any more children, then khalas, within 50 years probably all of mankind will be dead or something like this, right? Angels are different. Angels do not need to eat. Angels do not need to drink. Angels do not get tired. Angels do not need to sleep. Angels do not need to use the washroom. Angels don't need to reproduce. They don't do any of these things. They simply exist to fulfill the commandments that are being given to them by Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that brings us to the next point. Every angel has been given a job to do by Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? And their entire reason of existence is to fulfill that task that is given to them. Okay? So for example, as I mentioned just earlier, right? Every one of us, we have an angel of death. As we speak right now, Allah alam where that angel is right now. But that angel right now, he's just sitting there and he's waiting. That his only job is to sit there and wait. And as soon as this person's due date is there, he takes the soul and he takes the soul of that person. And his job is done. Another angel is responsible, for example, to take the soul, for a baby who is in his mother's womb, to take the soul and put it inside that baby. That's his only job. Other angels have been given different kinds of jobs. Some of these jobs have become, we are told about what they are, and there are, perhaps plenty or, other things that we don't know about the angels, right? At the end of the day, we don't see the angels. And also, there are some angels that we are told about, and countless other angels that we know absolutely nothing about. So, for example, we all know, for example, there is an angel called Angel Jibreel. Okay? Angel Jibreel also has a job. What is his job? His job was to bring down the revelation from Allah to the prophets. So, whether it's to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ or whether it is to other prophets as well, Jibreel was given this kind of job. Another angel we are told in the Quran, Mikael or Mikael, right? Angel Mikael, his job is to send the wind by Allah's commands. And again, this is an important point to understand, by the way. It's not the angel who has these superpowers, okay? It is Allah who grants the angels these powers, okay? So we should not confuse and say, oh, these angels are powerful creatures. No, Allah is the most powerful and He grants power to whomever He wants and to whatever creation that He wants. Last week we mentioned Israfil. Israfil is the angel whom right now as we speak, he has his mouth on the trumpet waiting to blow. Right? That's his only job, is to blow on the trumpet. We know there is another angel called Malik that Allah Azza wa Jalla references in the Quran. And that his only job is to stand as the gatekeeper of Jahannam. And many scholars also, they mention another angel. This is not mentioned in the Quran, but it is mentioned by the scholars that there is another angel called Ridwan. And he is going to be the gatekeeper of Jannah. In another hadith, we learned that there are two angels called Munkar and Nakir. Two angels called Munkar and Nakir. They will question every human being in their grave. So when a person dies and their soul is now in the grave, these two angels, they will come and they will ask him 3 questions to determine whether this person shall pass the exam or whether he shall be destined for punishment. So every angel has been given a certain task to perform, and they all perform their tasks obediently, and this is what Allah Azza wa Jalla is mentioning in the beginning of Surah An-Nazi'at. Now, how many angels are there? Now, obviously, for human beings, okay, according to at least the world statistics today, they tell us that there are over 8 billion human beings today. Angels are far more in number in comparison to human beings. We don't really know how many there are, but to put it into perspective, there is a hadith that perhaps gives us a small hint, okay? There's a hadith that tells us that in the 7th heaven, okay, in the 7th heaven, there is a structure that is like the Kaaba of this earth. You guys know what the Kaaba is, right?
Yeah.
You know that black cube that people do tawaf, right?
Like the angel's Kaaba? I know what
So there is one in the 7th heaven like the one on earth. And we are told in the hadith that every day 70,000 new angels come and perform tawaf around that Kaaba on the 7th heaven. And then they leave never to return again. So subhanAllah, you're told every day 70,000 new angels perform tawaf. So if you realistically want to calculate how many angels exist, you should probably start from day number 1 of creation, count how many days until the day of judgment, and multiply the number by 70,000. So it's a very crazy, big, very large number, far more than the number of human beings. So this is what we know about the angels. Believing in the angels, of course, is one of the 6 pillars of Iman, the 6 pillars of faith. And let's just do a quick pop quiz over here. What are the 6 pillars of faith? We should all know this by heart. We should all know this. Yes?
Believe in the books, believe in the angels, believe in Allah.
So believing in Allah, believing in the angels, believing in the books. What else?
Believing in the prophets.
Believing in the prophets. What else? In the qadr, in destiny. What else? We mentioned believing in Allah. There's a sixth one. The day of judgment. Jazakumullahu khair. So these are the 6 pillars of faith. These must exist within the hearts of every single Muslim in order for this Muslim to be a true believer. Okay? So when we say that you should believe in the angels, what does it mean? It means that first of all, we believe that all of these angels that we just talked about, they exist. Okay? So it's not just only the ones that we know about and the others that we don't know about. We say, oh, no, I don't think they exist. We believe in all the existence of all of the angels, whether we know their names or whether we don't. We believe in whatever we are told about the angels. So when we say that, oh, the angels are made out of light, okay, we don't start questioning and say, oh, well, how are they made out of light? You know, light is not something you can grab and make something out of, right? So you don't start arguing. We say, khalas, Allah told me there, or Allah and His Messenger ﷺ told me that this is what the angels are. I say, sami'na wa ata'na. I believe exactly in what they told me, okay? So we believe in the angels, we believe that they are made out of light, we believe that they don't eat or drink and all of these stuff that I mentioned, and we believe in whatever tasks that Allah has given them, okay? So we believe, for example, that Jibreel alayhi salam, he has a job of delivering the revelation from Allah Azza wa Jal to the Prophet. So we believe in the jobs that all of these angels, they have been granted. You have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know how Prophet Adam was the first human, right?
Boys,
Would he?
put these books away. Close all of your books, boys in the back. Close all of your books and put them on the side.
Would that technically mean that humans lived with the dinosaurs?
How did you come to that conclusion, bro?
Because Prophet Adam was there when Earth was created.
No.
Well, dinosaurs weren't there when.
The earth was already created when Adam alayhi salam was brought down. Okay, so Allahu A'lam, we don't know. Okay? Anyhow, let's go back to Surah An-Nazi'at. So hopefully by now, boys, I don't want any more interruptions from you. You understand? So, back to Surah An-Nazi'at. So we started by mentioning the different categories of the angels that are mentioned. Boys, there's too much noise. Okay? Those of you with whatever boys in the back, whatever you're doing, put that on the side. Okay? I don't know if you have snacks, I don't know if you have books, whatever, put that away completely. I don't want to hear anything. Okay. Can I continue now without being interrupted? Okay. So, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the different categories of the angels at the start of the surah. Now, when Allah Azza wa Jal swears in the Quran by something, it means that you should pay very close attention about what comes right after. Okay? Allah Azza wa Jal is telling you about something, like Allah Azza wa Jal, whenever you see Allah swearing by something in the Quran, Allah is telling you pay close attention because something very important is about to be mentioned. Okay? Can I ask you, come stand in the front? Okay. So what does Allah Azza wa Jal, what is He bringing to our attention here? Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةِ يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ, that on that day, the Rajifa shall take place, meaning the first blast shall take place. The first blow on the trumpet, the earth shall violently shake. Okay, the word Rajifa comes from the verb Rajafa. Rajafa means to shake. Okay, Tarjufu, Rajafa, Rajifa. All of it means to violently shake. So on that day, the earth will violently shake, and the first trumpet shall be blown. تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةِ, and then that first trumpet is followed by the second blast. Okay, and last week we mentioned the concept of the trumpet, right? And we mentioned that there are 2 blows in total that will take place on the Day of Judgment. Okay, or the first trumpet is meant to end life in this universe as we know it. And the second blow on the trumpet is meant to bring all the creation back to life. قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. On that day, those same people who are mocking the idea of the day of judgment, their hearts are going to be trembling. Their hearts are going to be terrified. Why? Because they will realize what they have been in denial all along. Like now they will see it with their own eyes and realize that all of these things that they have been warned about, all of these lectures, all of these khutbahs, all of these warnings and reminders, that they were actually true. They were not just a joke. It wasn't just a fairy tale. It wasn't just something to make you go and pray your prayers. No, these things are real. So they will see this with their own eyes, and so they will be absolutely terrified. أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ. And their eyes will be looking down out of, humiliation. Okay? So you know how, usually someone who's a winner, okay, someone who's victorious, usually has a really bright smile on his face. He's bragging, he's walking around, he's happy, he's walking confidently, right? Whereas someone who knows that they perhaps failed something or they did really bad in something, they're going to try to avoid attention, right? They're going to look away from people, they're going to avoid eye contact, and they're going to feel a sense of shame. So that's what's happening to the disbelievers. They were so arrogant in this world. They were mocking and saying, oh, do you think we're going to come back to life? You think all of this stuff is going to happen? And now they're seeing it with their own eyes. Now they don't want anybody to see them. They are so full of humiliation. أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ. Even though يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. Even though, so that's going to be their case on the day of judgment. Even though right now, or at the time of revelation, what were they saying? They would question and they will ask mockingly, أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. Do you really think that we will be restored to our original state after we become nothing but dust? أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرًا. After we're nothing but decayed bones. And they would add onto that, again out of mockery, قَالُوا تِلْكَ إِذًا كَرَّةٌ خَاسِرَةٌ. That if this is really, really true, then we would be basically in total loss. Like we would be in complete loss because we have disbelieved in all of this. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla comments and He simply says, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. All it takes us, these people, they think it's such a big deal for them to be being brought back to life. When Allah Azza wa Jalla says it's very simple for us. All it takes us is a single blow on the trumpet. زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. It only takes us one blast from the trumpet and all of them فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. And they shall all be taken out of their graves and returned back to above the surface of back to the surface. Okay, quick questions, yes?
So, you know how everything dies, even the angels, when the first trumpet is blown?
We don't know that.
But
We know for sure all humans will die. Okay, and this is again something that some people they like to ask, right? Okay, will everything die in the first trumpet? What about the angels who are up in the heavens? Will they also die? What about, I don't know. What about like the people who are, or not the people? What about like the hur, for example, who are living in the Jannah? Okay, are they gonna die too when the trumpet is blown? The answer to this is, first of all, we don't know. Second of all, we don't care. Okay, all we know is as humans, we're gonna be dying. Animals will also be dying.
I thought everything would just die, but
Yes.
when you said that kind of defeats the purpose of my question.
Okay. Yes. Question.
So, does man can look at all the souls of all the people?
Yes. Malakul Maut translates to the angel of death. So all of us, we have an angel of death. This is actually a common misconception. Some people, they think that there's only one angel of death and that he comes and takes the souls of everybody. This is wrong. Each one of us, there is an angel of death that has been assigned for you. Okay? So there's 8 billion people. These 8 billion people, they have 8 billion angels of deaths. And all of us, we have different times. Nobody knows when they're going to die, obviously. And the angel of death will take their soul. Question in the back? Yes, quickly. Any more questions? There was a question here. No questions anymore? Okay. Let's just quickly...
1 minute.
We'll take a... SubhanAllah. Okay, so we finished the first section. We already talked about the angels. Okay, so even though I had planned for to kind of go over more things, but from everything that we have learned so far, just about the angels, there are some lessons that we even learned just from this first section of the surah, and we'll conclude with this, inshallah. First and foremost, the importance of believing in the unseen world. Okay, so Allah Azza wa Jal, He begins the surah by talking about the angels. So who am I now to come and say, oh, I don't believe in the angels because I don't see them? So it's important, because Allah told you about the angels in the Quran, as a Muslim, you are required to believe in the angels. We talked about an-nazi'at, we talked about an-nashitat. Obviously, the goal of every one of us here, we don't want to meet the nazi'at, right? We want to meet the nashitat. We want to meet the angels of death who will take our souls away very gently, and they will take care of us. They will wrap us in garments from Jannah. They will, perfume our souls. These things will actually happen to the good believer, right? So these are things that we want to happen to us. So in order for you to obtain that, you need to be ready for your death, okay? And I know death is always a very negative or very gloomy topic to talk about for a lot of people. And especially for us, we're all over here young, alhamdulillah. All of us here are quite young. And so when we start talking about death, immediately our minds, they start thinking about, 80-year-old people, 70-year-old people, and these people. But reality is, every single day, there are many kids that are your ages that are dying every single day. And there are people like me and you, by the way. People that woke up in the morning, they didn't think about death. They woke up, after a good sleep on a weekend. They had some breakfast. They got up and played some video games. They went out with their friends. Maybe they came to a lecture over here, and they never made it back home. Because death comes just like that. Nobody knows and nobody can expect when death is going to come. And this information is not meant to scare you or to make you feel depressed, because death is going to come after all of us, whether you like it or not. As a Muslim, our job is to be ready for our death at every second. Okay? So whenever you think about sinning, think twice and say to yourself, what if death comes to me right now? What if I meet the angel of death in the middle of my sin? How will the angel of death treat me? Will it be nazi'at or nashitat? Will it be a good ending or bad ending? So death can come at any time. We have to be prepared at every single moment. Next time you think about delaying your salah, think very carefully about the decision you're making. Next time you want to disobey Allah, think very carefully. Because some people, they lived a life of righteousness and they messed up in the last moment and it cost them their entire life. We have a hadith that mentions that it is possible for a person to live his entire life doing the actions of the people of Jannah until he is like 1 meter away from entering Jannah. But then he messes it all up with a deed from the people of Jahannam. And so he is brought into Jahannam. And the other way is also true. The opposite is also true. That it's possible for a person to live a life of corruption, of disobedience. And then when he is just 1 meter away from entering into Jahannam, they make sincere repentance and they fix everything up. And so they end up entering into Jannah. The moral over here is it's all by your endings, okay? Your destination is judged by how you ended your life. So nobody knows when the end of our life is going to come. So we have to be very careful. You have to make dua. Ask Allah that your life doesn't end except while you are doing a good deed. And make sure that you are working towards that. And also the dangers of arrogance. Of course, the disbelievers of Quraysh were very arrogant. And we're going to talk about arrogance more next week, because Allah Azza wa Jalla gives us an example of perhaps one of the most arrogant people from entire humanity, and that is Fir'aun. So for today, we will pause over here. But before we go, actually, I forgot there's an important announcement actually. But before that, is there any question?
No.
Okay. Next week, we will be having this class online. Just for next week, inshallah. So next week, we are, I try to rent this classroom every single week for us to come and attend. But there were some days that I was not able to obtain because someone else had rented it before me. So next Saturday is one of those days. Unfortunately, we will not be having an in-person class next Saturday. So what will happen is on the WhatsApp group, okay, I will be sending out a link, a Zoom link, and we will be having this lecture, inshallah, online over Zoom, okay? So make sure you tell your parents, make sure you tell your friends who are not here, who might come next week, okay? I will announce it online, but I'll be completely honest, okay? A lot of you guys' parents, they don't read what I send them, okay? So most likely it'll be better if you go and tell your parents, you know, there is no in-person class. It's gonna be online, okay? Yes, you have a question.
So,
Yes, you have a question. Ask your question.
yeah, I forgot my question.
Okay, khalas. Yes.
You don't have any devices.
Bro, you're gonna convince me you don't have any devices, bro? Bro, you have the look of someone who like spends several hours on his phone, bro. Okay? Okay, brother? So instead of wasting your time, go and attend an actual lecture next week. Boys, can we stop that, please? Whoever's doing that. Questions?